You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a successful motivational speaker and trusted life coach, Nancy knows how you can live the life you want regardless of the challenges you face. Although she's legally blind, Nancy's mission is to inspire others to overcome obstacles and live life full out. Call in at 800-333-0001 to ask Nancy for advice on topics such as relationships, finances, business, health, and more. Just call 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Hello and welcome to the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and today we're going to be talking about optimism. It's a choice, actually, and it's great that we have that choice, that despite challenges, despite those bumps in the road, we have the ability to look at life with a glass half full mentality. We have the ability to choose to be optimistic in times when it's of despair, of stress. And so over the course of today's show, I want you to think about where in your life are you struggling? Where are there places, people maybe even that are toxic in your life that you might need to make changes so that you can leap into a more positive place? When you channel the optimism that you have for your life to achieve your dreams, that's when you're living full out. That's when anything is possible. We're also going to be taking your calls. That number is 800-333-0001. We want to get you into action so you can have a plan of how do I get out of this dark place I'm in? How do I leap to a place of a more optimistic mindset? And also, we're going to be coming up in our next segment with our inspirational guest, Alix Generous. Now, she has Asperger's, a high-functioning form of autism, but that has not limited her from thriving, from reclaiming her life, not letting it fade away to all the mental hospitals she spent time in. And I also want to make sure that beyond today's show, that you get the resources that you need. Feel free to reach out to us at connect@livingfullout.com. Again, that's connect@livingfullout.com. We want to make sure that you're supported even after today's show. Plus, if you have an inspirational story, one that you feel you'd like to share with our community, reach out to us again at connect@livingfullout.com and let us know what you've overcome in your life. Again, if you want to hear today's show, just go to livingfullout.com, and this episode and all of those episodes will be waiting for you to keep you empowered each and every day. Now, I'm getting word from our producer that we do have a caller on the line, so we're going to go say hello to them. Hi, welcome to the Living Full Out Show. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for calling in. How can we help you today?
I thought you already... okay, so I have like a...
Mm-hmm. Do you have a question?
Oh, yeah, I just had a question because I have a thing with this guy, and, like, he doesn't want to keep it, like, it's kind of like a short-term thing, but I want to make it a long-term thing, but I don't know how to, like, continue this relationship because he's about to leave for college soon, but, I don't know how I should maintain it or, like, respond to him not talking about us staying together.
Is this your first crush or your first love?
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Okay, so you felt these feelings before. Are you in love with him?
No.
Okay. Now, the reason why I asked that question is because you want to take a breath, first of all, because it is kind of scary sometimes when you're having feelings for someone and you see them disappearing off into the sunset and you're not sure how to keep that connection close, right? But you have to, first of all, diagnose where you stand, how you feel. Because somebody who is head over heels in love with somebody, they're going to amplify their intensity, their stake, their claim, their voice even more so. They're going to be fully expressive. But if you don't know how you feel, if you're kind of in the place of like with this person, then I think you more so go the place of friendship and let them know that you're into them. Obviously, you probably have some flirty dialogue, chemistry of your own. But because you're not sure if you love them, like them, you're still trying to feel that out, I think it's much more reasonable to stay in the place of friendship. And with any friend, wouldn't you wish them well? Wouldn't you want them to go off to school and do great things?
Yeah, I am, but, like, I don't really want it to just end as a summer fling.
Well, does it
I don't know if I'm just wasting my time.
Well, it doesn't have to end. But sometimes the best things in life take time, and they're worth waiting for. So a summer romance doesn't just have to be a summer romance, but you have to stay connected. Might be by phone, might be visiting each other, might be email chat, text chat. There's a lot of ways in which you can communicate with each other daily or weekly. And you just keep that bond going. And whenever you have opportunities to see each other in person, you do that and you see if that chemistry is still there. If you are meant to be together beyond this summer romance, you will be. But there's the old saying that if you love something, you got to set it free. If it comes back to you, it's yours. You have to set this one free. Let him go off to school. Let him do the things that he needs to do to get settled there. But stay in touch with him in the most ways you can. How does that sound?
That's good. Yeah, thank you so much for the advice.
You're very welcome. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for calling in. Take care. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day.
Thanks. So she asked a great question. You know, when you're in a place of indecision, you're so desperately trying to hold on to what you care about, you always have to remember that you may not be the only person in that scenario. In that case, there's another gentleman, and where his heart lies, what his desires are, she'll want to tap into that and ask him and build that friendship and maybe build it into a further romance down the line. So thank you again for calling in. We have another caller on the line. We'll go ahead and say hello to them. Hi, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm wonderful. Hi. Thank you for calling in. How can we help you?
I just wanted to ask a question. I feel a little bit, I don't know, broken heart is not the word, but torn between living here in the United States. So a little bit of a background is I am Colombian, and I was born and raised there. I grew up there until 6 years ago.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So my mother raised me and my twin sister, and it was just the three of us, and I never felt like I lacked anything. I always felt really happy.
What are you what are you struggling with at this time? What challenge are you dealing with?
So this is it's a constant struggle. It's been there day one. I'm struggling with where do I want to spend the rest of my life? And I don't think it's a decision that has to be absolute, but I just find myself thinking like I should just go back to Colombia. Like that's where my heart lies.
Do you want to
everything
hear
that I hold close to my heart?
Do you want to hear the good news or the bad news first?
Bad news.
Okay, the bad news is this. While it may be trying to decide if you stay in the States or go back to Colombia today, there's always going to be decisions that are going to come down the line in life that are going to keep you at this crossroad. That's the bad news, okay? Today it's Colombia versus the United States. Next year, next month, a couple years from now, it may be a relationship, it may be a career change. There's always going to be these moments. But here's the good news. The good news is life is meant to be lived, okay? And I don't know where you stand. Are you in your 20s? Somewhere in the 20s range?
I am. I'm 24.
24, okay. So you're 24 years old. So over the span of your life, you could go to Colombia, still decide, yes, I love it, I'm staying forever, or decide, nope, I think I'm going to go here and pick a whole nother location, somewhere in the world or even back to the United States. I would just say live full out, go for it. But if you decide that you're not happy, you can make a change at any time. That's the beauty of life, is that we're not restricted by one choice. If we make one choice in life, we can ante up at any time, put the cards on the table and say, I'm ready to make a new change. But you have to make that choice. And the other good news is that whenever you make a choice in life, It is going to come with some struggles. There's always going to be struggles that come with change. But at the same time, you're going to grow and you're going to develop. And your confidence will soar because you're going to know that you're not living a life of regret. That you're putting yourself first. You're honoring your choice. Do you see that?
Oh, yeah. I think I've actively been making this choice for the past 6 years. The major thing.
Here's the thing. Unfortunately, we're going to be going into a commercial break, so I have to say goodbye for now. But promise you, you're going to be just fine. But thank you for calling in. Okay, I believe in you. You'll be great. And everybody, when we come back, we're going to be meeting up with our inspirational guest. Stay tuned. We'll be back.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic.
Maybe you could be an outdoor cat that lives in our neighbor's yard, 3 doors down.
Mom.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same. Your daughter is having trouble learning French. Do you A, hire a tutor?
Bonjour.
B, enforce a French-only rule at home? Or C, watch some foreign films? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got. Or C, show solidarity.
Thank you, babe.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Drop that baby.
When they test you, stand firm and move only when you hear the seatbelt click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Thank you.
You got a king?
Go fish!
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
I see you mobbing over her. Let's go. Let's mob. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, we mobbing. Come on, girl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Boom.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. A professional motivational speaker, Nancy can help you overcome obstacles and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Hello, welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and today we're talking about optimism. How do we channel that positivity when we need it most? And trust me, I have been there. I mean, being legally blind has not been a walk in the park. But again, I choose to stay positive. I choose to soak up all my other senses to help guide me through life. And when you have a choice and you execute that choice, now you're able to live a life of purpose. And I am not alone, because our inspirational guest today, Alix Generous, was also one who took a life that could have been very challenging, that could have gone downhill fast, but she didn't. She rallied. She was diagnosed with Asperger's, which is a high-functioning form of autism, and she had been in 4 different mental hospitals. But the thing is, she didn't let herself just sit there in despair. She didn't give up on her life. But what she did is she rallied. She said, you know what? I choose to be positive. I choose to be optimistic about my future. And that is what she did. She's going to take us on her journey. So I'd like to welcome Alix to the show. Alix, are you with us?
Hi.
Hi. Happy to have you on the show today. Thank you. Now, I want to take...
I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Now, I want to first of all just start off by, can you introduce to our audience here, what is Asperger's? And how does that relate to autism? Just for those in our community who may not know.
Asperger's, also known as autism spectrum disorder, is a developmental condition that typically it happens before birth, and when you're born with it, it's not something that you develop, and it's marked by a lot of different symptoms, and you'll notice it affect communication, but also motor coordination. And typically, there's 2 kinds of autism, like verbal and nonverbal. But we have found ways to help nonverbal individuals have ways of speaking for themselves. So there's many different treatments and solutions out there that can help these communication deficits.
Well, and I appreciate you being a voice for that community, sharing your story, because that gives parents and others with Asperger's hope that they can live a life full out. And I want to take our audience back a bit here to when you were around 5. And I know that one of the greatest memories that you have, really a snapshot, is your grandfather's smile. Why was that so important to you as a child?
I think we learn a lot of our expressions from interacting with our parents and our family when we're little. And the smile of my grandfather was very unique. He was smoking a pipe, so I remember the smell. And it was just my earliest memory. I don't know why it was that one that I remembered out of many things, but that was the one that really got to me.
Now, as loving as your grandfather was, and even though that moment brought, a lot of happiness to you when you think about it, you were disconnected in growing up with your family. Part of that may have been due to growing up with your Asperger's and not really being able to put your finger on what it was, because it hadn't been labeled or diagnosed yet. But also you went through sexual abuse from your father. And I just want to touch on that because I think it's important that all children have a voice, but especially when you're dealing with trying to figure out who you are and why are you different. What was growing up in your family like?
Well, when you're a child growing up in conditions, and I'm not going to say everything was traumatic and all bad, because it wasn't. I would spend my summers in France because I'm half French, and then my school year in the U.S., and I struggled in school connecting with peers. I always felt odd, but I was verbal enough that nobody could really detect that something was up. I didn't really speak English until I was 6. I was speaking Spanish beforehand, and so that also contributed to kind of communication differences among my family. And I learned Spanish from nannies and stuff. It wasn't from my parents, so that builds kind of a strained relationship with communication between my family and myself, I think.
Well, and in your communicating to your family, weren't you sometimes moody, sometimes silly, sometimes shy, sometimes argumentative? Like your emotions were all across the board. Do you think that was more due to the Asperger's, or was that more due to what your father was doing to you?
So I had a lot of sensory issues, and the stuff with my father didn't happen until I was slightly older. Because, as you know, like with predators, some prefer different ages and weird stuff. But basically, growing up was a challenge, not because of the abuse, because the abuse hadn't happened yet, but because I was misunderstood. My behavior was misdiagnosed. I was given medications that weren't meant for me when I was really young. And at school, I wasn't doing well, and I wasn't getting a structured routine at home because my parents were in the middle of a divorce. I mean, there were a lot of factors that contributed to that unsteadiness. But in terms of myself, I struggled with sensory. I struggled with eating. I had a lot of stomach problems, and also how I connected with others was I wanted to connect so badly but couldn't, and it was heartbreaking almost. Making that effort every single time only to, like, be rejected or be called weird. And so I think Asperger's does that when people don't know what's up, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. And, we're going to talk about this going into the next segment a bit more. I know you were in 4 different mental hospitals and institutions and just trying to diagnose and heal and find that plan that could give you that growth. And it was not the first one, but the second one, where they did diagnose you. But it's interesting because the doctor would not let you look at any paperwork on your diagnosis, on having Asperger's. Why do you think that was?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. I think part of it, I personally feel it's unhealthy for kids to think of themselves as bipolar rather than, oh, I'm a kid who really likes trains and feels a lot, and for myself, I knew that I was falsely diagnosed with bipolar when I was younger, and that became my identity. And so I think in a way the doctor was actually trying to help make sure that I got the tools that I needed without it detrimenting who I thought I was. But that could just be my own projection on that issue.
But your projection is important, and I want to pick up right here because we're learning through your story. And Alix, I so appreciate you being so honest and vulnerable with us. So if you can hang with us, we're going to go into a commercial break and come right back and talk more to Alix. Again, it's Alix Generous. This is the Living Full Out Show. And I'm Nancy Solari. We'll be right back after this break.
Papa! Here we go. We're gonna go out there in the rain. It's gonna get wet. All right, here we go. Okay, oh yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah. We're getting so wet. Red shirt, blue shirt, yellow shirt. Oops. pants, red pants, green pants. Oops.
How's your hair? Is it pretty?
Daddy.
It's pretty.
Maybe I'll say that. Maybe I'll say that.
Don't ignore the subtext. It's on us to intervene in sexual assault. Because we can. Take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Connor is struggling in school.
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
Why don't you understand me?
I do. This is what it feels like for kids with learning and attention issues. Redirecting to understood.org.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund reading.
Why do you not get me?
I do. This is what it feels like for kids with learning and attention issues. Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a trusted life coach, Nancy will help you overcome setbacks and embrace all life has to offer. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Thank you for joining us today. I am Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about optimism, how we can take the challenges, the obstacles, whatever you want to call them, the ups and downs of life. How do you take them and move forward, move past them? How do you heal? How do you manage the pain? How do you stay optimistic under all that stress? That is the quest of today. And I hope that all of you are thinking about what is holding you back in your life so that we can help you, motivate you past that challenge to a place where you can thrive and feel free. Our inspirational guest today, Alix Generous, is no stranger to that journey. She was on it, being diagnosed with Asperger's, a high-functioning form of autism. She really struggled with having to just develop her social skills to, sensory skills that needed to be managed, just figuring out who she was in the world and how she could thrive despite all the limitations of the Asperger's. So I want to welcome Alix back to the show. Alix, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. So I know that you had been in one mental institution for a very short time, very brief. And then the second one was the one that diagnosed you. And you so eloquently in the last segment told us that as a child, you were glad that the doctors didn't come right out and label you. And I can see that. I can value that. Now, it was in the third mental institution, though, that you were really scared for your life, wondering if you were ever going to get out of there. Can you share with us why that institution was so much more severe than the others?
So what happens, most mental institutions work on what we call level systems, where, like, you have to earn certain privileges. And the problem with using that system to deal with people with developmental disabilities is it doesn't work. And for me, it didn't work, and I had to learn that the hard way. But basically, there would be so many things that were unfair about it. Like, I would have people coerce me to do their chores, and just, like, little things. But mostly, like, they were just mean. I was talking about this in a keynote that I gave earlier this morning, is that when people are given roles in any institution, they become those roles almost, and I think that's a factor that definitely contributes to it. Also, in 2005, when this happened, Asperger's wasn't as well known as it is today.
Well, and you had a mood disorder in conjunction with Asperger's, so the mental institution that you were at, they didn't have any training for either of those. So how did they approach?
I had training for the mood disorder, but not for the developmental.
What was their approach in, quote, quote, healing you?
Well, it wasn't one particular thing. There was lots of therapy, but people and staff did sketchy things in the hospital. Like, these are a bunch of teenage girls, and a lot of them had eating disorders, and one of the staff challenged them to the milk challenge, which is where you drink a gallon of milk, which is impossible for people to do without throwing up. And the problem with, that's not supposed to be fun, but I guess some people use it as fun. And the problem with that is it encourages eating disorder behavior. And so the fact that the staff wouldn't, were the one who initiated that activity and were oddly okay with it, there was stuff like that that I realized back then was wrong. And I just refused to participate in what I thought was leading to some scary things happened in there. So
now
I just didn't participate or contribute to it. I tried best not to.
Right, and you got to a point yourself where you felt as though if you were going to stay there, they were going to kill you due to different drugs they were giving you, the way they were treating you. And share with us about the decision that you were trying to go through as to ending your life or not, but more so, what held you back from not committing suicide?
Basically, my grandfather committed suicide when I was little, and it wasn't until later that I was told the truth of his death. And at the time that I thought about it, it wasn't an emotional thing. It was, okay, either I need to kill myself before they kill me, because they were pumping me with medications that weren't even for my condition. I was medically induced to psychosis. I was dying. I developed severe anemia. I've been losing a lot of weight. I was losing a lot of blood. And I was, I could feel my body declining at 13 years old. And I thought, okay, am I going to be able to survive this, or do I need to do it? So I thought of him shortly after asking myself whether I should do it or not, and I saw the pain that he caused by suicide and how it really affected my family, and I didn't want to do that to people. But also, I felt a strong wave of reassurance sweep through me when I was deciding it. So there was some inner strength in there, too.
You know, it's interesting that it's unfortunate that your grandfather did commit suicide and he did pass away, but it's a gift that he gave you to teach you that suicide was not the answer. And what could come from that in terms of the pain and everybody in your life. That's a huge gift that he gave you to teach you that, even though he didn't mean to teach you that. Now, how did you finally get out of that institution?
Basically, I wasn't allowed to talk to my parents, so I had to find a way to get a phone because I needed them to pick me up and take me out of there. And I had a code word I would use with them. And it would be a no questions asked, come and get you if I said it to them. But the problem is I couldn't get that code word to them because I wasn't allowed to talk to them. So I had to, I found a pencil and I threatened to stab myself in the neck if they didn't give me a phone. And they gave me a phone, and I called, and my parents came and picked me up. And this was like 12 years ago when this all went down. And I did what I had to survive. You know, I did that not to be violent, but because, you know, I felt my body dying, and I needed to do something, or else I truly felt like I was going to die. And I could feel it. It was this weird feeling of every aspect of your health declining, and I was like, not this time, is what I kind of told myself. Like, this is not going to happen. But in truth, like, a lot of this also was hazy because I was severely medicated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like this dream that happened to me in real life.
Although sometimes in life, and you did this perfectly, you have to channel that strength, and you have to say enough is enough, and go the distance to do whatever it takes to get yourself out of that toxic environment. Now, I want everybody to know that as hard as it is to hear that story of that institution, there are good ones out there, and you didn't know that you didn't know that such a good one was coming. I believe you went back after that institution, 3 months at home, got homeschooled, but then you found an institution, and again, you got to choose it. Choice is the word here when we're talking about having an optimistic view in life. But you got to choose this institution, and tell us about it. How was it different than the other 3 prior?
Well, one is I had a good feeling when I stepped on the campus. They did not have a level system. The treatment was individualized. And they treated both developmental disabilities comorbid with mood disorders. So basically, it wasn't like, oh, they specialize in autism or they specialize in, like, major depressive disorder. It's like they specialize in both because they realize that people aren't just separate labels. They're combinations of behavior. And with autism, people suffer from how others treat them. And that does have a long-term effect. And it changed my life, and I was there for 18 months, and I received 48 hours of therapy a week, different kinds of therapy, and it changed my life.
And it's interesting.
For the better, for sure.
For sure, and you know, it's interesting, I want everybody to know, Alix didn't just take the approach of lead me, show me the way. You actually, your confidence got boosted while you were there. You taught yourself piano, you really were assertive in them teaching you a dating class because you knew you wanted to learn about boys. And it's just kind of fun to know that girl that had been assaulted by her father, had been in all these institutions that were toxic for her, that she found a way to an institution by her choice that allowed you to thrive. When you look back on the choice that you made, and you made that choice, how does that make you feel?
You know, like, I would like to say that, like, I feel proud of myself, but in all honesty, I just did what felt was right. It wasn't something that I did what I did with the impressions and my gut instincts, but also, you know, when someone gets you and you meet someone who really understands you naturally, that's what it felt like. And I knew that it couldn't be as bad as that last place I went to. So,
yeah.
And I was right. And even though I went through that, I mean, I still have a soul. I still love music. I love being with my friends. I would hold spontaneous dance parties at the treatment center. You know, like, I'm still like a normal girl. I'm not just like, oh, I'm this and that. Mm-hmm. I have difficulties in this. It's like we all have a personality that can be celebrated with the right people, you know?
In 30 seconds here, if you have one last piece of advice for our audience listening today, maybe it's a parent who has a child with autism or somebody who knows somebody in one of these treatment centers that are toxic. What's your word of advice for them?
Shop around. Don't pick the first one you see. If you interview a lot of babysitters, like your kid is going to be in it. So just choose wisely.
And there we go.
Really do your research. Look at different kinds of resources and decide what's best for you. And let the child, if they can, have a say in it too.
Right, and there we go. Choice comes up again. Alix, we are all done for the day, but I want to thank you so much for being on our show. You're seriously a light in this world, and I know more great things are coming down the line for you. So thank you for being on the show. And everybody, that was Alix Generous. Feel free to check out more of her story online. And we're going to be coming back right after this break with your calls. Again, this is the Living Full Out Show. I'm Nancy Solari, and we'll be right back.
Our family is no less than any other family.
My heart doesn't see race.
Love is love.
America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. 1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation.
America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in the shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt. There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham-bam minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Sure, I look cute now, but when my owner lost his job, it was rough. I was living on the street, and one night, me and this Cocker Spaniel got into it so bad, I wound up looking like an ice cream cone. I cried a little bit, but thankfully I got rescued, so I'm running, I'm jumping, all back to my old self, and I'm ready to give unconditional love, even if you put a lampshade on my head.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
To live full out means that you choose to be optimistic every day. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be moments when you struggle, when you're at a crossroad and you're not sure which way to go, and you're really concerned and overly scared about making the wrong decision. But trust yourself. Always stay optimistic. Know that even if you make a mistake, there's learning in that. It's all about going out there, staying positive, and living life full out.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a certified life coach, Nancy can help you to overcome challenges and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. I'm Nancy Solari, and here we are, final segment of the show. It always goes so fast, and so I'm excited to be with you at the beginning of the show, and I'm sad to say goodbye at the end, but we always have next week, don't we? Well, on this show, we've been talking about being optimistic, so there you go. I'm optimistic that I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. It just starts with choosing the right words. Talking positively to ourselves. There's all that self-talk that goes on in our minds secretly, no one else hears. Make sure that you treat yourself good. Make sure that you fill your mind up with words that empower you, not tear you down. And that's what we do here every week on our shows. We try to motivate you to take action in your life so that you're not alone, but more so that you have a plan so that you can move forward and stay optimistic. So we're going to go back to the phone lines here and talk to one of our callers. Hello, welcome to the Living Full Out Show. Hello, welcome. Hi, thank you for calling. How can we help you today?
Well, I'm kind of dealing with a situation with my parents. They're getting older. They've moved out of state, and my dad has recently acquired a chronic illness. And it's hard dealing with parents getting older when they're here and you're there to help them, but when they're so far away and you feel helpless and you feel so out of control, and there's nothing that you can do. It's very stressful. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering if you had any thoughts of maybe ways to deal with that.
Well, right now there's a bunch of people nodding yes, because there's many people. We get emails from people that are dealing with the same issue. So I want you to know that you're not alone. But beyond that, when we feel hopeless in life, it's because we don't feel we have control. And there are going to be times in our life when we can't control things. And maybe it's actions by other people, maybe it's rules that are in place that we can't change in a moment's notice, policies. But then there's things that we can do, those actions that we can take to make the other people in our life feel good or make us feel more hopeful, more secure. So, for example, in your situation, you are at quite a distance, it sounds like, from where your parents are. And obviously, you love your father very much. I'm so sorry that he's sick. And we'll pray for him, and we will send positive energy his way. But beyond that, what you want to try to figure out is where can he be to get the most support. It's hard to find another you, right? There's just one you. But you want to find other people that are an extension of you, that have a similar philosophy on life as you. When you pick a caregiver, it's not just picking someone for the hourly rate. It's not just picking someone who happens to be available. You want that person to be an extension of you. And the good news is there's many different services out there now, different assisted living centers for seniors, or even people that independently come to assist seniors. So you will have options. It's just looking at what's available, but then being selective, being choosy. Even our inspirational guest in our last segment said that. Look at all your choices and then interview them. Find that person that's an extension of you. And then beyond that, look at finding ways to give your dad comfort. Things that might remind him of happier times, being with his family, things that might make him comfortable, a blanket, certain clothes, certain foods, certain TV programs, making sure that all that positivity comes his way every day, just to keep his body in a peaceful place. And for you, when you find the right caregivers, the right support team, you will feel better. And then together, it's never going to be perfect, but it will come more into an alignment where you know that you're doing the best you can. And that's the last thing I want to touch on, is when you close your eyes at night, you just want to know that you've done the best you can. Do you get that?
I get that, yeah.
So don't.
They're very resistant to that idea, but
well,
everybody else coming in. So.
Yeah, but you know what? But you know what? It's time to shake it up. Time to make some changes happen.
Yeah.
And everybody hates change. It doesn't matter if you go to the store and you get a different shampoo. We don't like change. If a new caregiver comes in, who's this person? I don't like change. But you know what?
Yeah.
Somebody has to spearhead it, and unfortunately, sometimes the messenger is the one who gets yelled at. That's going to be you. But you know that the outcome is going to be better. Okay? So fearlessly go out there. Shake up the waters a little bit. Take that chance, because it's your father's life's at stake. And then your peace of mind's at stake. So it's worth it, right?
It is, yeah.
All right. So we'll be thinking of you. I wish you all the best, and thank you for calling in. And I want to thank everybody listening to today's show. You know, we're here each week for you. Feel free to go to livingfullout.com to hear this show again if you want to hear our excellent guests who we have. Reach out to us at connect@livingfullout.com if you need more resources or have a story that you'd like to share. And most of all, just know that optimism is in you. We all have it. We just got to channel it, bring it out, turn it up, make it bright. Know that you do have the ability to choose which direction you go. Again, I want to thank our entire Living Full Out team that puts this show together. We have Rich and Elizabeth and Sam and everybody who just is dedicated to making sure that you all sleep peacefully at night, but wake up with a rejuvenated energy in the morning. It's all about living full out. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.